You ever feel like you're just constantly fighting for every single customer? Always looking over your shoulder at what the competition is doing? Well, what if you could just make them irrelevant? Seriously, today we're going to dive into a really powerful way to do exactly that. We're talking about escaping those bloody, shark-infested waters of competition and finding your own wide-open blue ocean. So let's chart that course.
You know, this quote from Alice in Wonderland, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's the perfect starting point for any real strategy. Because if you don't know where you're going, hey, any road will get you there. But here's the thing. In business, any road almost always leads you right back into that same old fight. So the very first step to getting out of there, it's knowing exactly where you want to go.
So let me ask you, straight up, and forget about that fancy mission statement hanging on the wall for a minute. In the middle of all the day-to-day chaos, do you really have a clear destination? A place you're actually steering the ship towards? And I mean one that's more than just beat the other guy. It's a huge question, because if you don't have a solid answer, chances are you're already caught in something called the red ocean trap.
All right, so before we can figure out where we want to go, we've got to get real about where most of us are right now. We have to talk about the default setting for almost all of modern business. A place so crowded and cutthroat, they call it the red ocean.
Yeah, the name's a little intense, but honestly, it's spot on. Just picture it, a sea literally turned red because all the rivals are fighting over the exact same limited pool of fish, or, customers. In this world, the rules are set, the market boundaries are drawn, and the only way to win is to steal a bigger piece of the pie from someone else. And that almost always turns into a race to the bottom on price, on features. It's just a brutal game.
And this whole thing creates this dangerous loop that just feeds on itself. See, it all starts with focusing on beating the competition, right? Which means you end up competing on the exact same things they are, the established features, the same metrics. So to get any kind of edge, you're forced to just slash costs and get more efficient, which only makes the fight over those same customers even more vicious. It's just an exhausting and, frankly, often a losing way to run a business.
But what if there's another way? What if you could just leave all that behind? Find your very own clear, uncontested market space. Well, that is the promise of the blue ocean.
This right here, this is the big idea. Instead of fighting tooth and nail with your rivals, you make them irrelevant. You do it by creating such a massive leap in value for your customers that you open up brand new, totally untapped demand. See, you're not just finding a new market, you are literally creating it. And this is where the thinking completely flips. In the red ocean, you're stuck with this awful choice, right? You either have to be different and unique, which costs a ton of money, or you have to be the cheapest guy on the block. Blue Ocean strategy comes along and says, nope, you don't have to choose. The real magic is going after differentiation and low cost at the same time. You completely shatter that old value versus cost trade-off.
So, look, the key here isn't just about being different for the sake of it. It's about being different in a way that's super hard to copy. You build this new value proposition that your rivals just can't easily match. Maybe they don't have the skills, or, and this is a big one, maybe chasing you would actually wreck their own main business. You basically build a protective moat around your new market.
Okay, sounds great, right? But how do you actually find this blue ocean? Well, it's not about getting lucky. It's about having the right tools. And the very first thing you're going to need is a map.
Yeah, to get out of that chaotic red ocean, you've got to chart a clear course to a new destination. And the strategic tool we use for that journey, it's called the goal map. Now, the goal map has this really simple but super powerful 3-level structure. Think of it like a pyramid. At the very top, you've got the goal itself. That's your ultimate destination. To reach that goal, you have to achieve a few big things. These are your critical success factors. And then to make those happen, you have to do a bunch of specific things on the ground, your necessary conditions. Goal, factors, conditions. That's it. And that goal at the top, it has to be something real, something tangible. So if you're a for-profit business, it's pretty straightforward. Make more money, now and in the future. Simple. But if you're, say, a guild or a nonprofit, the goal is going to be different, of course. But it still has to be a clear, measurable outcome that proves why you even exist. Okay, now here's where it all connects. This is the magic link. You remember those critical success factors, that second level on the map? Well, they are your blue ocean. They are the big picture outcomes that, once you nail them, create that huge leap in value and make all your competitors irrelevant. This is literally where you define what makes your ocean blue. All right, so now we have our map. We know the destination, and we know the big milestones, the critical factors to get there. But, on any long trip, a map isn't enough. You also need a compass, something to tell you, step by step, if you're actually heading in the right direction.
And that brings up a really important question. See, your old ways of measuring success, things like how efficient each department is or standard cost accounting, those are red ocean compasses. They're programmed to steer you right back into the middle of the fight. To navigate to a blue ocean, you need a completely new set of tools.
And we find that new compass in a powerful management philosophy called the theory of constraints, or TOC for short. It basically throws out a lot of traditional accounting and gives us and you'll be surprised how simple they are, 3 global metrics that act as our new compass.
First up, and this is the most important one, is throughput. The easiest way to think about this is it's the rate at which your whole company makes money from sales. But here's the crucial part. From those sales, you only subtract the truly variable costs, like the raw materials that physically go into what you're selling. Things like labor, rent, electricity? Nope. For this measurement, they don't count. It's just sales minus the cost of the stuff you sold.
Okay, number 2 is investment. This is simply all the money that's tied up or stuck inside the system. We're talking about inventory, and you only value it at what you paid for the raw materials, plus all your equipment, your buildings, everything like that. It's all the money you've spent that you haven't turned back into cash yet.
And last but not least, operating expenses. This is all the money you have to spend just to keep the lights on and turn that investment into throughput. This is where all your fixed costs go: rent, utilities, and this is a big one, all your salaries and payroll.
So let's recap. We have our map, that's the goal map. And now we have our compass, those 3 metrics: throughput, investment, and operating expenses. Now let's put it all together to completely rethink a word we throw around all the time, but maybe don't fully understand: productivity.
For years, we've all been hammered with this idea that productivity just means doing more with less. But that's a total red ocean way of thinking. It's all about efficiency. True productivity, blue ocean productivity, is about making the whole system better at reaching its goal. And what does that mean? It means you focus on one thing: increasing throughput, the speed you make money, while at the same time decreasing your investment and your operating expenses.
And this gives you an incredibly powerful filter for making decisions. For any new project, any new idea, you just have to ask one simple question: will this thing increase our throughput more than it increases our investment and operating expenses combined? If the answer is yes, then you're moving toward your goal. If it's no, then you're probably just making one little corner of the business look busy while actually hurting the whole system. So I want to leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Take a hard look at what you do every day, at your team's projects, at your company's big initiatives. Ask yourself, are all those things just designed to make you a slightly more efficient shark in a bloody red ocean? Or are you actually charting a course with a real map and a true compass toward your very own wide-open, profitable blue ocean? That choice? Well, that's up to you.